Okay, here I am down at Cooter's Garage, back working on Dave's JL Rubicon. You can see that Mike has installed the switches. There were plugs in here, these switches install, and that way when you're in, when an axle's in 4-low, you get the indicator up on the dash. So you can see the wiring right here. There is a module box, which I'm not sure where he mounted that, but basically, see the cables right there? They go all the way up the passenger side, up to the fuse box. And Atlas Advanced Adapters gives you a fuse. Let's see, here it is right here. So that module, to operate those switches and to do what needs to be done, needs a feed and it needs to be grounded. So that's just sitting right here. And that plugs in and then that'll go right into the fuse block right there. So meanwhile, you can see the reservoir is all bolted in. Mike removed the Genesis dual battery system to try to get more room to do the connection on the power steering pump. Dave, a cold air intake arrived here. So we're gonna be installing a cold air intake. And it's been about maybe 10, 12 days since we worked on this Jeep last, or at least since I've been here. So see what we can get done today. Take a good look at the Evo tower for the coilovers. Look at that. Some bolts and then it's all welded. Just sits underneath Genesis Off-Road's dual battery system. That battery holder starts way back at the firewall and goes all the way to the end right here. Okay, I'm under the Jeep. You can see the PSC power steering pump. You can see that they have the line in right here. That's connected. Comes around, follows over here, and you can see it hooked up in the top of the steering box. Very nice. So these two lines right here, these will be coming out going to the Ram Assist. So this is all looking good. Also, you'll see that the pitman arm has been installed. They got this, the nut is on, I believe it's torqued. So now there's the bracket. Steer Smarts sent a new bracket here because the bearing inside it was bad. So that just arrived. So we might work on that as well. Just kind of taking a look and seeing what Mike's got done. When we lower the Jeep, we'll take a look at that line. You can see it right here going up across, and we'll get a better view of that. Now we can see what's going on. So here's Genesis battery box right here. Batteries have been removed, everything disconnected. Reservoir all mounted up. Here's a line that comes out of the PSC power steering pump, goes across. Yeah, and here it is right here going into the steering box. I'll magnify. All right, so then out of the box, we've got this hose right here that is coming through right next to the radiator, the condenser. And obviously this is gonna end up getting tied in to the cooler. The cooler on this side, here it is. And that's gonna go right down there at the bottom of the reservoir. You can see it's very close to the connection point. Okay, a little look at the Genesis off-road dual battery system. You can see we just placed the two batteries back in the tray. The module from the Atlas, there's a cable, comes up through here, and there's a little tiny, there was already a little opening right here to sneak the cable in, and then it's got a fuse that just plugs in on a spare opening right there. So now it's just really a question of hooking all of this back up and getting the battery back wired up.
Well,
you can see that.
Yeah, that's always the way it goes.
All right, just got to hook up the negatives. Positives are all hooked up. All right, so a couple bolts on each side for this cover assembly with all the electronics.
Yeah, well,
everything's all hooked up.
We can do that.
Gives you exposure right here, kind of nice. Locks Locks down into place. Very nice. And most importantly, we just want to make sure that we do have 12 volts. I'm going to zoom in. See that red wire right there? That's the wire that sneaks through the bottom of the fuse box cover. The module for the Atlas transfer case needs 12 volts. It's grounded right here on the side on this ground bus. You can see it right here. Here's the wire hooked up right there. And then the positive heads down towards the Atlas transfer case. So we'll take that off and just make sure that we do have 12 volts there. Okay, just an update. You can see that the hoses are hooked up to the cooler. Mike has begun adding PSC's power steering fluid into the reservoir. We got the batteries hooked up. Batteries were dead, 10.6 volts. Got them charging right now. So that's really good. So we're making some headway here.
Yeah, we may end up changing this. We'll have to go underneath.
That's the vent. So what Mike did is
from the transfer case.
Extended the vent way up high into the engine compartment. That's great. That's what you want.
But if we throw a couple of zip ties underneath, it'll locate this hose. Right now, it's not attached
Right.
to anything.
Okay, so what we've done is we've installed the bracket on the bottom and relocated the grommets. There's 2 feet. You can see them down in the bottom. We rotated the upper filler reservoir for the PSC on about a 30-degree angle. So we're going to have to check that out and see if we have any conflict. But right now the intake, the larger portion of the cold air intake is in position. And it definitely is shoehorned in there. So far so good. This is an S&B cold air intake for the JL. So you can see we're just kind of rough fitting everything. It does fit nice. Air temperature sensor right there. These are just loose. They give you a rubber coupling here with hose clamps. Then you'll notice this line right here just needs to thread in. I'll take care of that next, and this will go on there. Not bad. I guess the tightest thing that I see is just sneaking that reservoir in right there. And we'll look at that. We'll look at the closeness to the hoses, the various metal lines that we have, and inspect that. So the cover's a piece of Lexan. I just peeled off the back decal, and we'll get that in place. It gives you a gasket material to lay in there. See the gasket material right there. That's pretty crazy, man. You can actually curve it around, yeah? It's going to actually bend the Lexan to fit the curve. Wow.
Okay.
There you go. The opening, the tube itself, the air tube just extends through in about 2 inches, and then the filter grabs it with a large hose clamp. Yeah, all in all, not bad.
Oh yeah, I didn't tell Dave about his exhaust system yet.
Oh, you probably saw it in the video. Okay, Dave, the cold air intake is done. The battery stuff is all set. Now we've moved back over to the driver's side. I just set in this bracket right here that the your fluid washer reservoir goes in here. The computer system, I mean, you got massive electrical going on over here. So that's where we're heading. Meanwhile, Mike is continuing to add the PSC hydraulic fluid into the system. Checking for leaks, making sure everything is tight. So far, so good.
Keep that up.
Yep. Okay, a little update. The reservoir is in place. The dual batteries are in place. The new cold air intake is in place. The upper reservoir is in place. And what you can't see, the reason we had to take the 2 batteries out is a brand new power steering pump was installed right there. So that's in place. So we had to remove the batteries to access that. The cooler is in place with the lines. We've actually started adding hydraulic fluid in there. Also, over here The steering box is in place. The 2 lines that go down to the ram are not installed yet. So the next thing we're doing is we have all these massive electrical connections. The whole windshield washer assembly needs to go in here, as well as the computer. The computer's been disconnected. So what we'd like to do is get all that back installed and hook this thing up and actually turn the motor over. That would be a huge victory for us. Then we could lift the Jeep up and start working on the underneath. Okay, so we're hooking the computer back up. You can see it right here. This plug here needs some work on the outer cover. It's got a cam in there. We're gonna take this cover off and realign it. That'll end up plugging in right here. This plug plugged in right there. There's various little plugs, and then when that's all done and it's plugged in, then this computer will slide down behind it and go on a stud, and we'll get it all set up nice. So this is another big piece to be very careful, make sure we didn't miss anything, and just get this thing all back in. Well, that's discouraging. Did you put your foot on the brake?
Yeah.
And nothing?
The battery charger.
All right, definitely a voltage issue.
Am I on the wrong path?
All right. So his first battery was dead. You can see the switches illuminated. We went to the backup battery and then the Jeep started. Nice. Okay, the computer is back in. We just started the motor. You can see that we're still charging the other battery. The vent line comes across underneath this cover that is on top of the radiator. Comes right through here and then down to this vent valve. They give you 1 bolt and it just secures right there like that. Huge. Got a lot done. In all honesty, if you look at what's done on the top of the motor, we can probably start lifting up the Jeep and start looking at the sector shaft bracket by Steer Smarts. That needs to be installed. As well as start looking at the 2 hydraulic lines that go down to the ram assist. So really good to have the entire. So what we ended up doing here is, you can see the switch is illuminated. We needed to go to the backup battery, which was fully charged. So we put it right here on, this is like a bypass. So the auxiliary battery, for whatever reason, was down to 10.6 volts. We were trickle charging it. Then we went to the primary battery and then it started immediately. These plugs right here, these plugs were off the electric motor / hydraulic steering pump, the stock one. Those don't get used. We're gonna fill them with duct seal. We'll tie wrap them up and get them out of the way, not being used. Okay, Dave, a couple things. So what we have here is we have your drain right there, and the plugs that went to the old steering motor. Put duct seal on the ends of them so no water can get in them, nothing can short out, and then tie wrap them up out of the way inside the frame. All right, just took the covers off the drag link. We're gonna put that Steer Smart bracket in and then loosely assemble the drag link right here off of the pitman arm over to the knuckle, passenger side. Okay, brand new bearing from Steer Smarts. You can see that we put it in the bracket. We're using some blue Loctite on those 2 bolts. There you go, Colin. Yep. We'll torque those down. Also, there's a new snap ring that's on right there. So once that gets tightened up, that's great. Then we're going to torque the 4 bolts that go through the frame into the steering box, 75 to 80 foot-pounds. Okay, so steering box all set up, blue Loctite, torqued. Right there, torqued. That's really good. We're setting up the drag link right there. We can kind of hook one end up. The Zerk fittings are in. All right, you can see that we've got the same amount of space right here on the nut. Okay, drag link is torqued. You can see the castle nuts are in place. Obviously, this all needs to be adjusted, which is why this is loose. All right, we're looking at the tie rod next. And then that'll allow us to move the steering back and forth and begin to get the air bubbles out and start purging the new power steering setup from PSC. So not bad. Pretty happy with this.